Okay. I mean, nice to have a new friend here, like in the corner. So yeah.
Absolutely. The theme is about machine versus nature. She's here to represent nature.
Yeah.
Good. On that note, welcome to the Hospitality Chat podcast. My name is Mehdi Rahman, and we have Matthew Drummond-Poynter, Joanna Oliveira, and Kellyanne. And we are here to talk about the study of AI and automation in the restaurant industry. I think that, discussion of machine versus nature is a bit of an interesting one, but how it will be tackled in the restaurant industry is another thing. Wouldn't you say, Matthew?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just speaking from trends in the last couple of years alone, we've kind of seen an increase in automated services, like, for example, let's say on table ordering actually is an excellent one. Here in the UK, obviously, as we all went into lockdown and then pubs and bars started reopening, we kind of saw restaurants and bars divert into kind of two paths. Some got more table staff, but others actually went the opposite route entirely and invested in more online ordering systems and kind of like more table ordering systems, which kind of take two forms depending on how two or three forms depending on how they implement themselves. So the first one that we see quite often is websites. Sometimes a lot of places will have like their own website with like an online with like a little system for ordering to your table. You put your table number down, some user information, that kind of thing, and then you can order from like an online menu. Another one would be to get like a dedicated app. We've seen Weatherspoons as a key case study in this one. They had the Weatherspoons app even before COVID, which is just an app that users can install on their phone. Then you put your table number in, they've got the menu, any specials, that kind of thing. And that enables your customers to quickly and easily order to your table. And because they already had this system in, we saw that Weatherspoons were really kind of able to take the kind of like the reopening and new restrictions of COVID in stride. As opposed to, say, other places which had to kind of like make their system, so they had to be shut for a bit or get increased table staff while that was all going on. Another way would be to get like tablets or something on tables with some kind of online ordering system on there, which goes to there. But the setup cost is a bit more pricey for that one, so I could understand restaurants for wanting to shy away from that one a bit more.
Websites are more common, like from all parts of different industries. But the restaurant industries are starting to. I'm seeing a lot more usage of like websites in restaurants from post-COVID right now. Wouldn't you say? Than before.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, yeah, with COVID, new restrictions and such like, we've definitely seen a massive increase in various forms of kind of automation, be it table reservations. You get like software to like, so your customers can reserve in advance for tables and such like, which was particularly important because, of course, sitting inside was kind of the only thing that you could do back then, and they had to space out tables. So there was a lot more demand, so reservation software was really key in that one. As mentioned earlier, table ordering software and such like also incredibly popular nowadays. And this is without going into things like the increased demand for takeout, meaning that everyone companies all over the country basically wanted to really kind of rush to get like an online ordering system for their takeout or something along those lines.
I can even bring a point to the last week's episode of mental health with employees. When that started to happen, we would have normal people at tables plus online orders. So it would just stress you out because you have two different services happening at the same time and you have to be cautious of doing both. Obviously, you can't let the people wait. They're sitting at the pub, but you can also not let the people wait. They're ordering online. So you're just like stressing. I do now, since this has been happening, when I go to restaurants, I just use the online app when you have like that QR code that they have in the menu. Just because I think it's easier instead of like holding my hand and asking for them to come, they can just get the ticket out the kitchen and then it just comes to you after like what 15 minutes. I think it's just easier. Maybe well, to me, it's easier. Some of the people I see them asking for bartenders and waitresses, but I think it's just easier for you to order. The QR code is less touching since COVID is not gone yet, if that makes sense. Like I trust everyone that's working, but still is less people contact and next to you and whatever. So I think it's a bit safer to still use the QR codes.
I mean, a lot of ordering systems are becoming more digitized. The reduce of contact interaction a bit more. Like, and not only that, apart from like let's say social distancing and whatnot, you would say, but a lot of restaurants are kind of like fully digitizing it to implement both in-house customers as well as online customers, and putting them into one entire POS system, which is common, rather than having two customer bases in different systems. Not only would confuse people, but I mean, we've seen a lot of places that are becoming much more digitized on how they would interact or handle orders from customers. Like you probably seen it happen, in a couple of restaurants as well.
Yeah, I remember when we had to have the NHS app to go in. A lot of older customers didn't have phones, like phones with cameras, so they can download apps. So a lot of them were turned away, and obviously that pissed a lot of people because they used to be regulars, but obviously didn't have like an iPhone like my own or like anything that has availability to put the app down. So I kind of felt bad, but at the same time, it's like I don't know, because you were older, I mean like 60 to like 70. So sometimes you'd kind of bend the rules to the people and let them in for like a pint or whatever. But a lot of them were turned away because they didn't have the app. Because remember, we had to do the check-in with the app every time someone would go into a restaurant. So it's good on one side, but the other side, you're turning people away that don't have the facilities to get a phone to show the app saying that they are safe to go in and whatever.
I mean,
Yeah, I think that kind of talks to like there's a lot of upsides to online ordering, but I guess as you kind of highlight there's kind of like downsides in that one where you are splitting customer bases down a certain level. Older people, there are people who just don't have smartphones. I didn't actually have a smartphone until I started going to university at 18, for example. Um, and people who just don't generally like using smartphones or just can't be asked to spend like 50, £100 on a smartphone or whatever. Those kinds of people may be driven away by you if you're relying solely on methods of online automated systems that solely rely on smartphones. So that's something to keep in mind, particularly if you have access to any kind of user demographics of kind of your restaurant. It could be something worth paying attention to.
Yep.
Kellyanne, what would you say, like, from places that you've been and other restaurants that you've seen, what would you think about these kind of implementations of automations in restaurants and AI usage?
Yeah. So during COVID, during like when they were doing the QR sort of code things to go in, we went to a restaurant for my mum's birthday, and I noticed there were more people eating outside than there were actually inside. So it really does impact how the business is inside of the restaurant, if that makes sense. As it looks empty from the inside, whereas people are actually outside.
Yeah, that was the other thing. A lot of people wanted to eat outside because obviously inside COVID can spread easily.
Yeah.
So a lot of tables we would be overbooked for the tables outside, but we would have a lot of space and a lot of tables inside, but no one wanted to eat inside. So it kind of damages your brand because to you don't, when people walk by, they see empty tables, and then like outside is just packed with like cups and whatever, but the inside is completely neat, but no one wants to sit inside, you know.
I mean, it wouldn't say that'd be damaging necessarily. I mean, some restaurants, like, I think during that time as well, when we're looking back, I've even post here, a lot of restaurants are moving it outside. Sometimes it can be more favorable to be outside. Like, it may be like an entire atmosphere. I mean, like, people will have like, say, outdoor kind of like venues and stuff like that to to enjoy themselves, and bars can like function much more properly if they were in their own space. And also, not only that, and also they're still like able to do, say, social distancing from that point on, like a couple meters apart. And not only that, some people may prefer going more outside. I think especially with people's, it could be attitudes to environment can change from like something that would happen in particular events, like say the whole entire pandemic, and hopefully going to endemic. I mean, people appreciate being more out than in a lot of the time, considering we've been stuck in isolation and cooping for a while. So it's like it is a better way just to better to be out than in.
I say damaging because the first pub I worked in, our tables were in the sidewalk outside, so we only had 3, and then we had up to 20 inside. So we couldn't bring those tables obviously outside because it's a sidewalk. So we were already like pushing into the corners of the building, but everyone wanted to be outside, and we didn't have enough tables outside. Obviously, there's restaurants and bars that have gardens, so obviously those were thriving because everyone would stay outside in the garden and drink and whatever. But the pub I was in, it was really hard for us to get customers because everyone wanted to sit outside, but no one wanted to go in. That's what I mean by damaging. Obviously, we still have customers, but no one wanted to sit inside because of the regulations and the rules and all of that.
And I can imagine as well because obviously they can't, because of the licensing for bars. You can't have people drinking on the sidewalk, because it will end up being like, oh, you're drinking the sidewalk. That's the chance of losing your license for your bar in a way. So I can get that. Well,
and also as well, I've noticed that. Oh, sorry.
Go on.
As well, I noticed that loads of businesses like restaurants or like small cafes and like pubs had to shut their doors because they weren't getting as much people in as well as like more popular sort of pubs and restaurants.
Yeah, that happened a lot. Even when like everyone started to open up, a lot of people still didn't want to go out, so they would choose like Uber Eats, Deliveroo, Just Eat, and all the other apps to order. So yeah, you'll get business, but not actual people going in. And if you didn't have your business online, then you're losing money and losing customers, because if it's not online, we're not going to go out because obviously there's a pandemic outside. We've been told, and we were stuck for a year indoors. So it's like everyone became an introvert in a sort of way because not a lot of people wanted to go out. So yeah, a lot of businesses, I'm assuming, lost a lot of money and had to close down because they didn't jump on that wave of having their restaurants / bars, cafes online. So if you wanted to stuck with that idea of like, oh, I want to be quote unquote original, I don't want to be out there, then you might have, hurt your own business by doing that.
I mean, it forces, I think this pandemic really kind of, from all other perspectives, has forced everyone to adapt and become much more like thinking ahead. Like, I want to be original, but sometimes I have to cater to the audience that were not able to come out for their safety. I can't be mindful about how I want to perceive my restaurant, my business to be. You rather be, oh, how could I reach my customers more in hard times where it requires us to isolate from one another? An online ordering system, either it's, being part of a third-party service ordering system like Just Eat, Uber Eats, Deliveroo, or the second method will be, I think, build your own online ordering system. Like if you were to have a website, like we talked about in our previous episode, building your own website for your ordering systems or whatnot, like either through making your own website through, like making your own website space like Squarespace or, Wix, and using that, making your own transactions and be building like an online infrastructure to your business. That way you can be able to reach your customers much more better. But by not adapting entirely, it's almost like a set of like being almost like held back on your potential, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's kind of key as well to highlight that while a lot of like online ordering getting online ordering to your restaurant may sound kind of daunting at first, a lot of the process is actually marginally more straightforward than I think a lot of people give it credit for, and I think a lot of restaurant owners might have been scared away by how like complex it sounds. But to take your first one, Just Eats and such like, it's fairly easy to set something up on there. You basically just make an account, put your restaurant's details in there, put your menu in there, and location and such like, and then they'll sort basically everything else out for you. Like you don't need to worry about getting delivery drivers or any of that stuff. This obviously comes with its downsides. Like they'll take a cut out of every single thing that they every single order that you get, which obviously might sting for you a bit. But that comes also with its own perks, like a lot of these places have established kind of viewer bases, which, you know, people are already on a lot of these apps. I'm already on Just Eat, for example. And so that kind of gives you like a new avenue of users who are already using it that you have access to now that may not have heard of your restaurant beforehand, and it just gives you another avenue for people discovering your restaurant. Going back to the Squarespace and Wix thing, it's incredibly easy to set up like online ordering systems on most of these because there are actually plugins and like third-party add-ons on on these shops for various things to do with online ordering. So you basically just purchase those or subscribe to them if they're free, and then it's fairly straightforward to integrate those into your website. Obviously, if you're programming it from scratch, that's going to be a bit more difficult. But aside from that, it's really not as daunting as it may first appear on paper.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's pretty much like a simple online procedure. I think a lot of things now is online. The use of online ordering is made much more easier for users to implement. But it's about whether you decide to do it or not would make a difference to your restaurant. I mean, for me, for example, I've discovered a lot of restaurants like through these apps, and I may
Yeah.
not order from, but you end up like, oh, that looks interesting. I might visit the restaurant. Like even using online ordering apps would help. Say having like a preview to the menu itself, so when you walk into the restaurant, you actually think of ordering or not.
Yeah, no, I mean we've kind of referred a bit back to this one
Yeah,
previously in some of our stuff to do with websites and
yeah,
such, like the importance of like using your menu on your website to kind of get people enticed and kind of thinking about what they'll order. And I think online ordering in a way, showing your menu online actually plays a lot of a significant role in that one. Um, Also, of course, online ordering systems and such like come with their own like advantages for some of the more anxious users in regards to working out what you're going to eat. Because if
Yeah.
I'm an indecisive person, so when I'm sitting in table service after about 10 minutes, I still don't know what to order, and I'm start thinking, oh god, I'm holding everyone up. Meanwhile, with online ordering systems, I don't have to worry about any of that. There's no like sources of like external anxiety or anything, so I can just go right ahead and place an order. Simple as. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was one of the good things about like online ordering was the fact that we don't have to worry and get anxious about holding everyone back in the table because you can just take your time and order. Obviously, if you're out still in the restaurant and you're ordering online, obviously your table won't go to the kitchen until everyone orders. So you might still have that anxiety if you order online at a restaurant. But obviously at home you can take as much as you want because you just you're waiting for the order to come delivered to you. But yeah, that was one of the good things for me as well. I'm anxious all the time, so if I have to order and have like a table of 8 people, you're just like, oh my god, what do I do? Like they're all already ordered and I'm like here. You just see the waitress going one by one and it gets to you
yeah.
closer every time. You're like, oh my god,
It's
help.
kind of like the register at school. Yeah, it's kind of like waiting for it, but
Yeah,
like, oh my god, please don't say my name wrong. That's like my dread. Like whenever it's
just
like the school,
praying.
just pray, please do not say my name wrong. So when they say it wrong, it's like, oh, kill me now kind of vibes. Like, oh no, please don't. It kind of has
It's
that
like,
vibe.
please.
But anyway, something of dread. I mean, it is a bit of a debate of this. AI's artificial intelligence. What do you guys think about that? In both inside and outside the restaurant industry in general.
I think is a good thing and a bad thing because obviously we're evolving as humans, but as a lot of people have that argument of like, oh, they're gonna take our jobs from us,
Yeah.
which maybe, I mean, yes, but if we don't, then we're never gonna progress as a humanity. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm very like in the middle. Then again, I don't have a lot of experience on it. I never done that much research. So if anyone else here has done that research, then you can educate me on it. But to me, it's just it's a good thing and a bad thing. It depends how we do it, if that makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, for AI, artificial intelligence in the industry, restaurant industry in particular, is becoming much more commonly used now. I think it's much more used in customer service as well. Like, having like virtual assistants, like they're trying to help, like, say, answer customers' inquiries or process customer orders, much more efficiently. I mean, for example, I'll give like an example to that is when when I was getting tickets to, say, the new Spider-Man film No Way Home, I ordered from View, but the ordering had a bit of an error. And because of the error of the order, basically it took money from my account, but didn't process my ticket. So I had to call through View, and they had like a online assistant, like an AI almost assistant for their customer service inquiries. So I kind of called them up, and then it had like almost like directives. And I think even the NHS uses it similarly. If you have like say an appointment, press 1. Do you have like a prescription inquiry, press 2, kind of similar to that. And even in View, so when I was ordering my ticket, I had, if you got inquiries about refunds, press 6 or something like that. So I kind of directed myself, and then kind of almost like guiding myself. Almost, it is good in a sense, like to help protect customers from, because when tickets get wrong and money goes missing, it can often lead to like unpleasant encounters, and I think that can be relatable on that. But it almost like decreases that a bit if they have like common, say, almost like forums for answering questions and whatnot, and that kind of replaces it with like the AI being the answers to that, these many questions, but also trying to protect the employees as well, because almost like the AI assistants almost diffusing the conversation and diffusing the conversations and being more informative than being, allowing the customer services to be the last the last person to be the people to help with the inquiry. So I think it helps, try to calm down, the customers, as try to help and provide a much more efficient customer service. But there are drawbacks sometimes with, like, say, inefficient like answers, or like it's because a lot of issues that people have maybe specified more differently, not more like in a broader perspective. That could be like a flaw, but maybe it's something that with AI is much more of a learning thing as well. With artificial intelligence, always learning with new information. So this could be like, say, give your feedback to the customer service. They'll implement the feedback to, say, to the AI assistants or something like that, and end up building up more of the experience. I mean, I think that's from my experience of the virtual assistant side of customer service roles.
I mean, I think they help a lot, like Siri, Alexa, Hey Google, like they help a lot with people that have disadvantages. Like blind people can use those AI assistants to do what we do on a day-to-day life. They just ask their phones or their smart TVs or like the actual Alexa, and it helps their life become more easier than normal. So I think it helps a lot, even for people that don't have disadvantages. A lot of people use Siri and Alexa and Google to like ask random questions. I mean, sometimes even ask to them for like ask for a joke or whatever, just do a TikTok. But they do help a lot. Obviously a lot of people don't like the GPS map when Siri talks, because they just send you to some random ass, like tiny ass roads. So no one likes the GPS version of Siri or just the Apple Maps, but they do help a lot, and they help a lot of people, which I would assume normal people couldn't do that job. To imagine having just a person on your actual phone every time you say something, they'll come and help you. It's impossible, because millions of people have phones at this point in age. So I think AI really does help with like your type of situation and just on a day-to-day basis. I wouldn't say they're taking our jobs. They're just making our jobs easier. Even in the restaurant part of it, they can just like people just go to the menus, or obviously the phone calls. So you're not shouting at an actual person, you're just shouting to an AI, and they help you out and you feel better than like back in like the 80s, the 90s. I don't know, in the phone, the 80s or the 90s, you would have people calling and shouting at each other because something went wrong. So I think I do think AI's help a lot. They've been helping a lot these past years.
I mean, I would say like it's still the same right now with, like harsh and angry complaints is
Well, yeah.
typically normal, but I feel like AIs are supposed to be in the front of it, but
Yeah.
and improve of it.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
also, and even that, I think having other uses of AI, say using sensors in kitchen areas, are more important as well, because I think based on reading the patterns of the kitchen team, the staff team, the equipment, everything like that is measured by sensors in the kitchen, and trying to almost provide, say, how we would improve, like the little margin of human error, would call it, and trying to step up the performance bit by bit and learning from the feedback. I mean, feedback is key in this kind of industry. You need to learn how your customers are feeling or whatnot, and AIs can be the part of tool, be considered a tool to use to help with improvements and a sense of how we can move forward as a business and whatnot.
Yeah, I feel like AI also helps make things quicker as well. For example, if you're doing like customer service, they'll put you on hold if they didn't know something and then ask somebody else, whereas AI gives you quite accurate responses. Like,
Yeah.
like direct ones as well.
Yeah, I mean, also like it also helps with like processing orders and in much more common places.
Yeah, yeah.
Predictive algorithms. Like what this customer ordered before, and use these algorithms to help say what would be your recommended or based off your previous searches. I think that's what's kind of like most common about data, like data usage. That's more commonly used. I think the AIs are becoming much more learning, understanding your other customers' predictive movements or predictive orders, you would say, and help say how we could use other people's preferences to help build up on our menu. So it's kind of working towards particular people's flavor patterns, or like a common, say like 8 out of 10 people's like common flavor patterns that they like in the area. I'll cater to that kind of my menu according to what others prefer, if that makes sense. I mean, that is something that would help your restaurant to improve, whilst you want to maintain your own identity, but also you have to work with the market that you're working on at the time and in the place that you are.
Yeah, I think that last part about like data, looking at data, is actually really key. There's an AI called TasteWise, which I found when doing some research for this particular topic, which collects data points from like across social media and basically other places that people are posting on the net. And this takes a look at what people are posting at in regards to food and other such things, and it enables you to actually kind of enables them to recommend like certain trends and for foods and such as they're developing, which as a restaurant owner can be really nice if you need to like make any changes to your menu to like better anticipate these particular trends. Also, it actually recommends certain keywords as well, kind of in the same vein as like SEO or something similar, which can be good to kind of like kind of make your menu hit harder with the terms that your users are actually searching for, as well as kind of SEO up your menu pages, I suppose, in that manner, where you're kind of like finding the terms that people are looking for and you can like put them on your menu. I don't know if people are, we're in January right now, so if people are searching up more vegan dishes because of Veganuary and such like, it will actually kind of recommend that to you, and you can kind of like highlight more like vegan stuff in your menu and such like to kind of better anticipate those particular trends. And that's a kind of use of AI, I think, that perhaps people wouldn't think of. Like I said, people always kind of jump to the replacing jobs line. This is a job that basically only an AI could realistically do, and it's just making your restaurant just that little bit more efficient and productive.
I mean, I think that would be the way to end this message. I think the view of, the understanding of AI and automation in particular, I would think is not a matter of, say, replacing human beings, but more likely working alongside human beings. Like almost like a symbiotic. Like it helps humans, but you also help the AI, because there's some jobs that an AI could do that a human can't, but there's some jobs that a human can do, but AI cannot. So I think like the requirements of waiters and waitresses and kitchen like chefs, I think that will not go away for a very long time, considering despite our continuous improvements. I think the human element is still needed, regardless of advancements of technology and science. I think it's just more like we have to work in synergy between each other, and I think that's the important with nature versus nurture. You know, machine versus nature. I think the importance is try and working together, and know that there are jobs that not every single human can do, but a machine can. So it's like,
saying that,
yeah, I know.
there's a restaurant, I think it's a restaurant or a cafe in Japan that's just robots. Even hotels
Yeah.
is just robots. So
Oh.
technically, they can take our
Yeah,
jobs and do what we do,
yeah,
but it's not globally. It's just happening in
yeah.
Japan. But then again,
I
Japan
mean,
is very high in tech. It's been high in tech
it's
for
the,
many
the,
years. So,
they're an
you know,
entirely different nation of their own. I mean,
yeah.
they're like many light years ahead, but in contextualizing to the places that we're advertising to and everyone else, I think. I mean, even then, I feel like they still need the human element. I think
Mm.
us humans ain't gonna go away. Sometime we always have a purpose in the end. It's
At
just
the very least, I think it's only a matter of time until the waiter bots and customer service bots
yeah.
take too much grief from customers and overthrow their human oppressors.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, not in the near future for sure. But I mean, who knows? I think is the question. But I mean, it makes you wonder about the future. But hopefully for the good reasons. So I think I'll sign this off here. My name is Mehdi Rahman, Matthew Drummond-Poynter, Joanna Oliveira, and Kellyanne, our guests. This is the Hospitality Chat podcast, and we're signing out. Thank you and goodbye.